Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're going to discuss the Breitling Navitimer World. You can see this 46mm dual-time automatic Breitling Navitimer and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full commercial listing for this watch, with additional accessories included, high-resolution images, and naturally complete pricing details for this timepiece. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see two features of this watch stand out. First, it's big, but it's not Bentley, neither in style nor branding. This is a large watch that's an honest-to-God instrument, and it uses its extra real estate to display more information of use to the owner. And second, it's very much of a classical proportion, so though it is large, at 46mm across the round of the case, nevertheless, it is quite true to history. And again, the underlying sensibility of the watch is more instrument, it's more utility, it's more functional than it is showy. And I think that's borne out by the shape of the watch, which is effectively all bezel and all dial. Now, from lug to lug, the watch is large. No question. This timepiece is 53.5mm across the broad of the wrist, but for those who are looking for a frame of reference, that means it wears as large across the wrist as a 44mm Panerai Luminor with the traditional Betterini case. So if you're looking for a size comparable across the wrist, that's it, spot on. In terms of thickness, there's no getting around it, or over it for that matter. 15.5mm isn't always terribly thick, but you can see relatively sheer with a bit of an outcropping bezel. This one wears a thick 15.5. But again, this is a timepiece that's meant to be seen and used in a functional sense. It's also a timepiece that's blessed with a gloriously massive and substantial black contrasting stitched alligator leather strap. Now, it's a supple calfskin on the underside, hand cut, feels great against the wrist, but the sheer size and weight and heft and quality of this strap is impressive, and it speaks volumes about the respect Breitling invested in this timepiece. Now, you'll note the clasp features a handsome minder system such that it tucks any excess strap, as massive as the strap is, underneath the clasp for a very clean aesthetic when buckled. You'll note that there are no minder loops here to hold the excess strap. Moreover, you'll note that, again, as strong as the strap is, it doesn't need much help, but that clasp allows the strap to make do without any perforations for sizing, as it's simply clamped in place once you size it. That means that there are no apertures to be bored out by a pin buckle and slowly age in advance of the rest of the strap. So it's big, it's beautiful, it's also durable and designed to last. Now, when I said that this watch is all of an instrument and all of its dial, I mean that you see the knurled circular slide rule flight calculator, and it doesn't just have to be a flight calculator, more on that in a moment, but everything from the outer periphery, which is paper thin, you can see the metal surrounding the bezel itself is actually incredibly slim. It opens up the dial for easy reading. Now you have the flight calculator outboard. Inboard you have a second time zone denoted by the triangular red index, and then you have a chronograph. So let's start that for eye candy, but it's a true triple register chronograph with hours, minutes, and seconds. You also get a quick set function for the date, and you can rapidly correct the 24-hour format of that red world time, or in the case of this watch, it's called a world time hand. Properly speaking, it's simply a GMT or a second time zone, as this is not a classical world timer in the Louis Cotier sense. Now, about that bezel, many have asked me after watching previous videos how it works, and I thought I'd just do a real quick clinic on how this timepiece works. The key thing to remember is everything is predicated on the index. You can't see it too well here, so maybe I'll turn the watch until you can, but there's a 10 printed on the inner portion of the dial. Not the silver part, but the inner portion. So this is how this works. Say I want to divide something. Let's say I want to divide 100 by 40. Now you have to keep your units in mind when you're doing this. So I'm going to take 10, which represents my 100. Remember, like I said, you have to keep your units in mind. And I'm going to divide 100 by 40 the way you would write a division problem out, putting the number being divided over the divisor on the bottom. So 100 divided by 40. Now I go back to my index. That 10, which unfortunately doesn't show to good effect in my light box, just above the 10 now you see 25. Keeping your units in mind, that's 2.5. So by dividing 100 by 40, I look at the index and I can see 2.5. That's 100 divided by 40. So I just did a division problem. Now I'm going to show you multiplication. Okay, so let's say I want to multiply, I don't know, 9 by 3. I'm going to put 30, over the index. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to find 9. And you can see right there, 9, 25, 26, 27. That index point just above the 9 stands for 27 because I'm keeping my units in mind and I'm following the succession of numbers around the bezel. So I just did a multiplication problem and I multiplied 9 by 3. Remember, 3 in this case represented by 30 on the bezel. And here's the key thing. When you want to divide, you put the number being divided over the number that's dividing it. When you want to multiply, you put the number being multiplied over the red index, the 10 on the inner dial. That's how it works. And once you get good at it, you can calculate restaurant tips in advance of your friends who are using their iPhones. Now, everything else is pretty simple. It's a Value 7754 in chronometer specification, modified to feature a 24-hour hand rather than a day window alongside the date. Unidirectional winding, automatic, 3 ATM water resistance. Chronometer spec means that the watch does have exceptional timekeeping potential, and when you pull the crown to extremity, you do stop the balance. You can see the seconds hand and the chronograph hand halt. Now you can synchronize to a known accurate reference time. Like I mentioned, there is a quick set for the date. This is a timepiece that offers a lot of functionality, and as you saw from just how much time we spent going over multiplication and division, there's a lot that you can read into this watch and work with this watch and get out of this watch once you're truly invested in the process of utilizing the bezel. But even if you just like the way it looks, you have the utility of a chronograph, a date, and a second time zone. You can see and you can purchase this watch and get to know the circular slide rule calculator on our website.